For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard, we will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30-odd minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Hey! Welcome to 30-odd minutes. It's great to have you guys with us aboard the mothership. Thank you.
Yep.
Mothership. Beaming to you live from outer space tonight. A very interesting topic. Something that's been on my mind quite a bit lately. Where do we come from? It's a big question. We're going to be talking about that tonight. First, I want to say hello, of course, to those in the control center, the Oddballs. How are you guys tonight?
Excellent.
How's it going there, Jeff?
Going good, going good. How's your week been?
Pretty good. Very busy.
Yeah? Everything holding together in the ship?
So far, so good.
Duct tape.
Duct tape.
Lots of it.
Duct tape.
Duct tape and a dream tonight. All right, I understand we got some emails this week. Sarah?
Yes, we do. And Andrew.
Why don't you read that?
Yes, I will. So, email says, hey, I was surprised that during this week's show you didn't mention the alleged Bigfoot killing by Justin Smeja and that whole story. This guy, Justin, allegedly has some Bigfoot meat. Matt Moneymaker and Tom Biscardi are both chasing after this story and the stake that Smeja has to offer. Thanks, Ann Ross. And I believe you checked this out a little bit.
I've been looking into it, and it doesn't appear to be anything. Real quick, what it seems to be is this guy claims that he got a bear tag to go hunting, and he was up hunting in the hills, and a rather large animal reared up in front of him, and he just shot it. And when he got up to it, he found it not to be a bear, but some sort of human-like creature, and then he was startled by a second one on a rock ledge above him. He shot that creature. It fell to the ground near him. He cradled it in its arms, claims he got some of its blood on him.
Right.
And went back later, after the snows had fallen, and the only thing he could find of these two corpses was a section of meat that they're referring to as a steak. And I just don't see why scavengers would take away all the bones and then leave a real nice piece of meat behind.
What cut was it?
It's just I don't think it was rump roast. But it just, the whole story just doesn't really ring true. And the more you look into it, folks, it just, no.
Yeah, I got you.
Not.
Well, thanks for looking into it, Andrew. We appreciate it. That's how these things go sometimes. You know, you chase a lead down and then who knows where it goes.
Disappointing.
But it's funny. People always, this stuff comes up. It comes up in the news. People make crazy claims, and then they get a little bit of attention. So what happens after that? Hey, join us in the chat room live at 30oddminutes.com because you can interact with the show and our guest tonight through that. You can talk to Sarah. Sarah, how's the chat room right now?
It's awesome. It's pumping. And I did want to also say that we wanted to give a shout out to Devin Knight for your recent donation to our ship.
Thanks so much.
It'll buy a few more rolls of duct tape and fulfill our dreams. Yes, we need it. So, Devin Knight, thank you so much. I'll take anything you got. Beer, cookies,
chicken wings,
loose change.
Chicken wings, yes.
Wings.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Thank you. We do appreciate it. We've been getting a lot of support from you guys, and that's good stuff. So I've been thinking a lot this week. I've been reading an interesting book, which we're going to talk about in a second, about where we come from. It's a big question, right? Where do we come from? Religions have evolved to try and answer this question. Mythologies do their best to give us insight through stories and oral traditions, but there is really only one thing just about everyone can agree on. Even the atheists. We can agree that we come from the heavens. For some people, that means it's a deity that created us. For others, it's stardust that collided and started a chemical reaction which eventually led to life as we know it. Tonight's guest is here to tell us that advanced beings have always been here, tinkering with us in a way. Interesting. They go by many names, but the results are the same. Sometimes there are leaps in evolution, leaps in technology that show up ahead of its time. We're going to explore all of that and more tonight. He's the author of the new book, We've Never Been Alone, A History of Extraterrestrial Intervention. How cool is that? Please welcome, beaming to us live, Paul Von Ward.
Yeah.
Paul, can you hear us? Whoa, can you... Anything? Hello? Paul, anything? It's going to be one of those nights. Here's the funny thing. every time we've done a show that involves extraterrestrials, and we've done 80 episodes now, 80. And every time we've done an extraterrestrial show, even remotely related, we have technical problems.
Every single time.
And
not a joke.
I mean, it's uncanny. We've done 80 episodes. We've had to have done 7 or 8 on UFOs at least.
There's been like 6 or 7. Every single one. We were just saying that before. Not to jinx us or anything, but we were just talking about that. Like, it's always been something.
Men in Black.
I've been saying they got to be watching or something. It's a
But, I
conspiracy.
mean, what are they trying to say?
But that's
That we're
another
actually
show.
on to something here? Like, what would be the fear in letting us broadcast 30-odd minutes? Really? We are the answers, people. Little did you know.
It's Matt's fault.
You get it all
It's
here.
that involvement with the Ben water.
It's a chip they implanted in your head, isn't it?
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
It could
Your
have
tracking device.
been. Yeah.
Getting too close.
I won't sleep over at his house.
There must be a code word. Like what? UFO, alien.
Well, there's several words that would probably
Extraterrestrial.
garner attention from certain people.
Monies.
Yeah.
Let me try again to see if our guest is with us. We're trying to make connections. Paul, are you there, sir? Nothing.
I can see him.
No audio, huh? All right, we're going to work on that, and it's going to be a long show. We'll get it. Hey, we did get a question of the week last week. Let's play that.
Why, yes.
Right on.
The paranormal world suffered a loss on January 9th, 2012, with the passing of Dr. William Roll. He was 85 years old.
Hey Oddlings, it's Sarah with your 30-odd question. We asked you, if you were an alien, what 3 items would you take back to your home planet to best represent human life on Earth? And you gave us some pretty good answers on Twitter and Facebook. First up, we had Spooky Gen B, who said an iPhone, a George Foreman grill, and pajama jeans.
Yeah, definitely the grill.
Grill.
Vamp Cat Lady said oil, war, and poverty.
Well, truth hurts.
Charlotte O'Hare said Twinkies, Big Mac, and a Starbucks latte. That covers the basic 4 food groups, and then some. Beer. And Karen Termini said laptop, beer, and a car. There's your beer.
Right?
So thanks, guys, for sending in your answers, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Facebook for our next 30-odd question.
Thank you very much for that. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. You can get the question of the week as well. We want to hear from you guys. And you can email us at info@30oddminutes.com. Always interested in hearing your guest suggestions, your feedback, your gripes, and everything in between. So thanks. Keep sending that along. And this was a newsworthy week. We started to see a little bit of it. I guess the technical glitches are abound tonight. Let's play that as well as we try to get our guest back on Skype tonight in the news with Andrew Lake.
The paranormal world suffered a loss on January 9th, 2012, with the passing of Dr. William Roll. He was 85 years old. Dr. Roll was a parapsychologist best known for his work on the 1984 Tina Resch case. You know that girl that may have had telekinesis? There was that photo of her? Yeah, that one. Sure, it's photos like this that make the news and all the TV shows. But what people may not remember are the decades of research Dr. Roll did at the Rhine Center and the Psychical Research Foundation. He will be missed. Back to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Andrew Lake. We're going to start doing a news segment each week. It's going to be very exciting. Tonight, the hope is to get our guest on, and we're going to keep working on it here in the coming minutes to talk about kind of the evolution of the universe, cosmology, which is so interesting because we're talking about really big picture here. You know, where do we come from? Where was the universe formed? Are we stardust? Are we planted here? Was there some kind of intervention? All of that stuff. Matt, you're our resident UFO guy.
Yes, I am.
Does this play into the discussion when you're talking about UFOs?
Yeah, it does. I actually had the fortunate circumstances to actually work with Paul von Ward in the early 90s in England doing crop circle research. And I found him to be a very intelligent and articulate man who knew a lot about the subject. And he definitely has a good grip on the UFO subject. We know that he definitely does know the history. He's very good at basically being able to take the parts from the historical past, put them with the current events. And from what I'm able to gather from his book, he's able to separate all of the events from the history that we know of and put together, a cogent, thought out methodology of what they may be up to. And in my opinion, I think he may actually be pretty much onto something. I'm not sure what you guys think about the UFO subject, but give me your thought. Come on.
UFOs, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I certainly don't think it's a coincidence that the activity is like spiking as it gets closer to. I'm not going to like drudge up the 2012 thing, but however, I do not think it's a coincidence. I actually do feel like humanity as a whole is starting to draw towards something, whatever it is, some kind of awakening, some kind of heightened.
I was talking about that with my friend Pam, and we look at all the heightened UFO activity right here in Massachusetts.
It's
And
everywhere.
the infamous Bridgewater Triangle. There's been a lot of reports. Matt and I just interviewed a guy. He's a professional freelance reporter, and he saw a phenomena in the air that he cannot explain, and he said if it has anything to do with extraterrestrials, I don't want to know, because it just would freak him out. But Matt's you've been hearing all these stories lately about orange spheres and.
Not only that, they've been seen not only in the local area, they've been seen around the world in increasing numbers as the 2012 thing does get closer. But these things do come in cycles, and I'm sure that's one of the things that you hear all of the time. There is a coinciding wave and valley, peak and valleys that happen. And interestingly enough, they do coincide with other celestial events. Most people don't realize that most peak UFO years happen every 2 years. And that has to do with the proximity of Mars orbit to ours.
Get a little Orwellian there.
Well, it's the truth. It's it's a statistic that's known. Is it is it saying that we're getting visitors from Mars or no? Well, it's also
they may not have been originally from Mars. They may be there right now.
But there's a number of different, viewpoints on it.
Here's the thing. I always wonder about UFOs. Could it be that are we aliens? I mean, I accept that as a possibility. You've got this big planet. It's an oasis, in the universe. And, maybe Mars went kaput and they came here. Maybe someone went to Mars from somewhere else, and so on and so forth. That's what's so strange about this topic. But here's the question. You talk about the human ego, and Sarah, jump in here. When we think we're so all important. No. Ah.
You didn't mean it like that.
As a psychologist, not as an egomaniac. So, the human ego.
Catch.
I'm serious, right? So the human ego is so fragile. We think everything is by us. We look around us, and we've got this this amazing world that we created. Why do we think that? Do we not get any help along the way? Sarah, why is it the human ego must think that we're the top of the food chain?
Why isn't it the id instead?
Oh my gosh, you're putting this on me. Because, by no means are we the only living creatures on the planet that need this. However, I would say that we are the ones who depend on others the most. Like, as much as we like to pretend like we can be independent and solitary creatures, we're just not built to be that. So we do depend a lot on other human beings, other people's opinions.
Because we're social creatures.
We're very social creatures, and we actually need them. You can go back to, quote any study you want, like with infants in orphanages who are never touched and they die, but the ones that were held and cuddled live. You need human contact. So it's an external thing. External things are out of our control. So if your entire identity is built up in external events, you're going to try and find reason and patterns and things that make sense within that. So your ego is going to be fragile if it's built around an identity that's always fluctuating and changing. And I can go into how to change that when it's more internally focused, but that's why you go to therapy, see? If you knew how to do that by yourself, we wouldn't have jobs for us therapists.
And I wouldn't have a job making the drugs that you therapists out.
But so, stories, creationary stories are just another way that we're trying to make sense of why we exist and where we came from, because we all feel like we need to have those answers. Not everyone. Some people are like, I don't care. I don't care if I was some cell that crawled out of a pond and I was a tadpole once. I'm okay with that. But other people feel like in order for this life to make sense and have meaning, I need it to mean something more. I need it to be going somewhere higher. And therefore I need there to be, some sort of creation, some higher power that what I'm doing now means something.
Right. Good answer.
Is that a good enough answer for you?
That is good. No, thank you. Paul, can you hear us?
I cannot hear you very well.
But we can hear you. We can hear you. So welcome to the show. Sorry we missed the first half with technical difficulties. That happens sometimes, especially when we're talking about UFOs. Do you care to speculate why all of our UFO shows go wonky?
I'm having difficulty hearing you. It sounds like the same difficulty that I had on Skype. I could hear you as if you were in some sort of chamber, but not clear voice.
Isn't that a bummer? Paul, we were hoping to talk to you about, and we'll just try this one more time and forgive the technical difficulties. Hoping to talk to you about, the evolution of the universe. What makes you think that we've had visitations before from advanced beings? Could you define advanced beings and why they've been here?
Well, there's so much evidence that we've had an intervention, or many different interventions, from all kinds of areas of evidence. I mean, I think most of the people that are listening to you have heard and probably know a lot about the ancient astronaut theory that started back with Erich von Däniken back in the late 60s, and all of the books that have been published and all of the studies that have been researched and disseminated over the last, I'd say, 10, 15 years. There's just so much out there, but what I've tried to do in my own research is to add layers of evidence along beside these reports of artifacts, all of the pyramidal structures around the world, all of the sites that have evidence of advanced technology being used. All of this suggests that some beings more advanced than humans were involved in the development of humans. And I go into several different areas in the book. One of them, of course, is looking at the fossil record, looking at the gaps that we have in the shift from the Homo erectus primate era of evolution right to Homo sapiens. And then about 100 to 150,000 years later, you had the rising of Homo sapiens sapiens.
Right.
These are not explained by our DNA evolutionary processes.
Now, do you think that first of all, why do you think these alien species or advanced beings, whatever they may be, whether they're angels or something else, why would they be so interested in us?
Why would they be what?
So interested in us, Earth, and our planet.
Well, one of the theories which Zecharia Sitchin popularized 15 or so years ago, and I think there's considerable evidence to support the idea that they came to Earth, the advanced beings, from some other planet, some other ordinary place where beings somewhat like us could live and survive, but they needed gold, they needed resources from planet Earth, and they came here and found that there were primitive beings who might become workers for them, and with some genetic manipulation produced Homo sapiens. And Homo sapiens seem to be very suited for that purpose of working in the mines and also working in the preparation of foods, all kinds of other services that these beings needed. Just like our military forces, when they go abroad, they have to have a lot of local help to support their living situation and also to help them maneuver in the local area. So this is a metaphor that we can use for the advanced beings. Think of ourselves as advanced societies going into lesser developed countries over the last 500 years and working with lesser developed people. And so this is what happened with the Homo erectus. And there's all kinds of evidence now of these mines having been operated in southern Africa, and that goes back to hundreds of thousands of years, which happens to coincide with the break in the fossil record. It also happens to coincide, that date of 100,000 to 200,000 years ago, coincides with our DNA analyses of the markers that we can see in our DNA that indicate a long history, and you can see when those shifts occurred, and that suggests that there was external manipulation in terms of DNA hybridization, perhaps other activities, and we know from the stories in the Bible and many other ancient texts that these advanced beings also started having hybrids by having sexual intercourse with the earlier humans, which is probably what produced the Homo sapiens sapiens.
So we've talked in past shows, we've talked about how, like for example in the Bible, the Ezekiel ship, which is a very technical description. I think we can almost accept that there have been these interactions in the past, and they've been perceived as deities, of course, because someone with such advanced technology would be perceived that way. Now, but do you think they're still around today? Are advanced beings still interacting in our culture, in our governments today?
Well, I think that we have a different situation now. What I was describing earlier was a direct colonization process where more advanced beings actually physically interacted with humans, took advantage of them, developed them as workers, and so on. But I think after the cataclysm of about 11,500 years ago, which was a global cataclysm, in the Bible it's talked about as a local flood, but evidence from all around the world suggests that it was a global cataclysm, which ended the last ice age, which we all know is dated to about 12,000 years ago. And these survivors of the cataclysm, that is, the human survivors, the advanced beings, were able to get off the planet and protect themselves. And the story of Noah in the Bible is a good example of that, where the advanced beings gave some warning to humans, and this is not just in the Bible, but in the stories of many different cultures around the planet, to how to save themselves. And after the effects of the cataclysm were over, some of these advanced beings came back and helped groups of humans in different places, not only in the Middle East, in Mesopotamia and Samaria, that area that we focus on, but also in the Tian Shan Plateau in China, probably in the Indus River Valley area, in the Andes Mountains, and probably some other places. So humans who got that assistance became the more advanced civilizations that we see in our historical record about 5,000 to 6,000 years ago.
Right.
And so when the ABs pulled away, they were no longer in that direct interaction with us. So today, the interaction is usually just with individuals or with some small groups of people. It's even through telepathic or energetic, interdimensional communications with humans. So we've never been alone, but the modus vivendi for the interaction has changed over time.
I see. So they're still here, but it's not a direct contact like it was before. We do have a question for you, Paul. Just a moment in our chat room. Sarah, do tell.
Maddie's going to ask.
Maddie,
actually.
please.
Yes.
All right. The question is.
Did you forget it already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know who it was.
Oh, Unicornio.
Yeah, Unicornio asked, what was it they thought that made the biggest impression on him? And if you would stop scrolling so I can read it.
I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
There it is.
was curious what got him started in the field of research, and was it a particular sighting or experience? And hi, Paul, haven't seen you in 20 years.
Paul, that's a great question. I know you're a former Baptist minister. You're a Navy guy. How do you go from that to a cosmologist talking about advanced being interaction?
Well, I always was a curious person, and although, like most everybody else in our society, I grew up in a very traditional, fundamentalist kind of religious community. But it's interesting because I had real questions about a lot of the concepts that were part of that culture, and I started challenging the minister of the church that I was in, and it took me a few years to transition out of that because I was very much influenced by ministers and patrons of the community who wanted me to follow in their footsteps. But as I went off to college and started learning about history and across religious beliefs, looking at world religions and how they all seem to have developed in different ways over time, I began to ask questions. But, back in the 60s, when I was in graduate school and studying clinical psychology, John F. Kennedy said, we want to encourage people to do what they can for their nation. That famous comment that he made,
sure.
Do for your country.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, of course.
So I took off into the Navy and left the graduate program, and then from there went into the diplomatic corps and went into international development and cross-cultural work and international projects of one kind or the other, and a nonprofit that I founded. But all that time, I was on the side reading into these more esoteric areas. For some reason, I was really attached to them. And
right.
Of course, now I have the theory that I was attached to them because of reincarnation, having had lifetimes in the past that dealt with these issues. That's a little esoteric, perhaps, for some of your listeners, but I think that played a role. It was sort of natural for me to expand my view, expand my research, and the more you look at new areas, the more you are titillated by the possibilities of a different vision of the universe. And I really branched out to cosmology and have written a book on a self-learning universe that we're part of, and that we're part of the conscious creator that was the source and
right.
origin of this Earth of ours and all the rest of the universe.
Right. Well, Paul, unfortunately, we had all those technical difficulties, and we are right up against the end of the show. But I appreciate you coming on by phone, at least for a few minutes, to share some of your work with us. We'll have links to your website from ours, and again, thank you for coming on and talking to us. And we'll have to try this again.
Thank you very much for having me.
When the stars are better lined up. So, Sarah, Matt, talk to me. Reincarnation, aliens, intervention. Andrew, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, it makes me think. There's got to be something to it. It just does seem to have some sort of order to it.
Yeah.
There is order in chaos.
Yeah.
We had plenty of chaos tonight. We had a lot of chaos.
We illustrated that fully.
You know what's funny? We do shows like these, and it feels like some people love them because they like to watch us squirm.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
goes wrong.
I
So
think they do.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And now I think it's time to roll our credits and go get a beer and wash this
Or
all
two.
away. So until next time, stay odd.
Yeah.